So we're starting a conversation this week as the ACF community about what it means to be blessed. We're starting a new series called Flipped Upside Down. And the idea is that when Jesus shows up to the world, if you just were to take all of his teachings and boil them down, what you would realize is that Jesus actually had one favorite sermon. He preached the same sermon over and over again, and it was a sermon about the kingdom of God. Over and over again, through everything that he did and everything he said, he was proclaiming that there was actually a new kingdom that was coming that was completely different from the kingdoms that they were aware of and used to, where power was something that would be wielded in a different way than the way they'd seen it, where in their culture and in their time, when people had power, they abused their power, not something that we're completely unfamiliar with today. And so he said, there's going to be a new kingdom with a new king, a king that is a servant to humanity, that would come and die for the sins of the world. It's a flipped upside down type of kingdom, and everything that Jesus does in the healings and in his teachings shows the world that things aren't as they should be, and actually in the future, as his kingdom would come, God would right what is wrong and restore the world to what it was created to be. So this week we're talking about what it means to be blessed in terms of your spiritual poverty. Jesus starts off this sermon through the Beatitudes talking about how when you are blessed, you're blessed because you are spiritually broke. And that's not something that we really want to be. It's not something we like to think about as being spiritually broke. But Jesus actually says that when you come to me with nothing, you actually position yourself to receive everything that I have for you. And it made me think of this story. This is in Mark chapter 12. This is a well-known story about this widow, this woman who has very little. I mean, she is physically broke as a joke, and she comes to Jesus, and she really doesn't have much to give. And here's what it says. It says, Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. And so just like today, we give of our tithes and our offerings to support the ministry that God has for the church. And that's historically what God's people have done, is had a rhythm of surrendering their finances to God to just proclaim to God, hey, you are my provider. I am not my own provider. God, you give me everything as a gift. And so I'm going to give back to you as my offering to you. It says this, many rich people threw in large amounts. So you got this crowd of people with lots of money, and they're walking in and they're probably flaunting it a little bit, showing off that, man, I have a lot of money to put in. And so maybe putting the money in and letting it make a loud noise, right? I don't know if you remember the old offering plates from my Baptist upbringing. We had these metal offering plates with a little piece of red felt in the middle. And so I love to put some change in there, and before I pass the plate, I'd shake it a little bit, right? Like make sure it sounded like a little jingle in there, like just so everybody knows I made an offering. Verse 42, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a fraction of a penny. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she gave out of her poverty. Put in everything, all she had to live on. So we have this crowd of people who gives out of their wealth. It's not much of a sacrifice for them to put some money in, and honestly, many are doing it so that they can get some recognition from other people, not so much to submit their heart to God. And then this woman, she shows up. She doesn't have much to give, but she gives everything. And which sacrifice is Jesus more pleased with? The one from the woman. And so I want to encourage you today, come to Jesus with nothing. Not just financially. I mean, some of you maybe you're like, man, I'm financially broke, but realize that we are all spiritually broke, and come to Jesus honestly and openly, surrendering yourself to him, knowing that every good thing you have in your life is an act of unmerited grace, and you're going to position yourself to be blessed.